Two of my go-to podcasts for artists, makers, creative people are Art for Your Ear by the Jealous Curator or Daniel Crissa, and then the second one is The Creative Pep Talk by Andy J. Pizza. But don't leave too soon. Stick around. I'm going to tell you 2 episodes that I've listened to lately that I think you will like. And then I'm also, at the very, very end of the episode, going to talk about a podcast that I found while I was doing research for the video that I haven't listened to yet, but I'm really excited to give it a listen because the content that I saw on Instagram and YouTube is wonderful. And so stick around because I want you to hear about that third one, but I also want to tell you about the 2 episodes that I think you will like and give you a little backstory and tell you why they were that good and why I liked them myself. So the first one is Art for Your Ear by Daniel Crissa. She has been doing podcasts for such a long time. I have been listening since 2018, I think, so like 5 years. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, 5 years. I started listening when I was a design intern for anthropology in Kansas City, and I don't feel like I had to be there that early, but I was always falling asleep. I was having to do a lot of mundane tasks, really repetitive, and I'd get really sleepy. I don't think it was that early, but I don't know. And so I found her podcast and I listened all the time. It was just like constantly listening in my ears to The Jealous Curator or Art for Your Ear. Always listening to it. She's kind of shifted the podcast a few times, which I think is great. And so if you listen back to her older episodes, it's a lot of interviews with artists. And then there's kind of like a middle stage where she started to have like more regular guests on, like repeated, and they would have conversations. And then now, this last shift, she's only 4 episodes in, so it's really easy. You could easily catch up and then like be caught up with it. But she is calling it On the Case because she loves true crime. And so each episode is answering some questions that other artists, creative people, everyday people like me and you, questions that we have about art. And she gets those questions from her newsletter. It's called the No Such Thing as Too Much Art Society. And you can pay to subscribe and be a member. And I believe you get an email every single day delivered to your inbox, kind of like a little creative newsletter. So if that's something you're into, check it out. I'll put the info for you. But yeah, her last one, it was episode number 4. She specifically talked about her experience becoming an author and an illustrator, and then specifically with children's books, which we all know that I love books. And if you're here, you might also love books. I know I talked about her in my art books episode, or in the art books video, so you might be familiar with her from there. And I love her children's book as well. I have one of them. I haven't gotten the second one yet, and the pictures are lovely, the illustration, like it's all so great. And so I was super excited when she was talking about the book. And then she is posting these on YouTube, which means that I tuned in and then I got to see, like, she was sharing her screen and walking through, and then like gave us a whole behind the scenes tour of what went into making and illustrating her books and all the different ways that she's collaged, and I loved it so much, and I think you would too. It was really inspiring, and her whole story, and like the whole story of how she became the Jealous Curator, is really inspiring too. I'll give you like the 5-second version. Well, she was a painting major. She was told never to paint again by a professor like the week of graduation, and then she took 10 years and like never made art. She was seeing other people making things and she was kind of jealous, and so then she started making little blog posts about these artists, and then she became the Jealous Curator. And she has written books, she has been shown in galleries, she has her own show, she has a podcast, like she is doing it. And she's older, which I love, because so often we see people who are younger than us doing things that we wish we had done. But I feel like it's, at least for me, I love seeing people do things when they're older. It's so inspiring because it's like, I can do that. I've got to get older, I can do that. And so I love her for that reason also. She just is such a lovely human. So for sure, check her out. Art for Your Ear, Jealous Curator. The newest episodes are On the Case. Episode number 4 is the one that I really loved lately. And you can listen to it wherever you find podcasts, or you can also watch it on YouTube, which I recommend for that one, especially the second half where she starts showing you about the books. Love it. Next up is The Creative Pep Talk by Andy J. Pizza. I've been listening to this. I have been listening to his podcast for probably 3 years now. With lots of the podcasts I listen to, I sometimes go through phases where I like listen a lot and then not as much, listen a lot and then not as much. So I recently started listening more. Episode 409, he interviewed Anoosha. I can't remember her last name, but maybe there's a theme. Maybe I just love books. Maybe one day I could write my own book. We will see. That would be lovely, and that would be so cool. That would be a dream, to write a book one day. So she's also an illustrator for children's books, and what I loved about her conversation is she talked about how she really wanted to be an animator, and she pushed and tried and worked so hard to become an animator, and she just realized, like, I am an illustrator. And they talked about Monsters University, the movie, and how she just felt like Mike Wazowski. She's like, I am Mike because he wanted to be a scarer and he wasn't scary. She's like, I wanted to be an animator and I was an animator. And how she then came to find illustration and how she has done some great things. She has a YouTube channel and really loved one of her latest videos. She put together all of this art for a solo show, which she's never done before. And she was just feeling very, like, a little hesitant because she's not traditionally a painter. And so she was trying to make all this work not digitally, like actually painting. And so she vlogged a lot of the process of creating this work for her show, and just was kind of open about sharing that she didn't really know how to paint, and then over the course of the few months she got better and improved, which I'm here for. Like, I am not great at a lot of things, and so it's always reassuring to see people that you admire and then not be great at everything. So that was a really good episode that I really loved from the Creative Pep Talk. I would definitely give it a listen. And as I was doing my research too, I forgot that both of these podcasts are actually part of Co-Loop. Co-Loop is an artist-forward agency and podcast collective built on the foundation of creative collaboration and community. And so I forgot about that. I forgot that they were both a part of Co-Loop, and as I was going through, I saw they actually have a handful of podcasts that are part of their, that are all part of them. And so, like, Lisa Congdon, she has a podcast that is a part of that. She just stopped podcasting, but you can still go back and see the whole library of all of the work that she's done. She's also really inspiring. Before she started being an artist, she was in her late 30s. And like, another story of it's never too late. And those are always just validating as a human to hear about people who are doing great things and they're not 30 under 30. So yeah, loved that. While I was researching the two other podcasts, I saw all of the other podcasts that Co-Loop also puts out. And one of those I haven't heard of is Draws in Spanish by Fabiola Lara. And she is a Latinx artist, illustrator, and she interviews other artists specifically from Latin countries. And I haven't listened to any of her podcasts yet. I did scroll through on Instagram and was just like super excited by what I saw, so I'm really excited to give her podcast a listen. And I also saw that she is posting her podcast on YouTube as well. I think that I just haven't found the same kind of creative community that I had in college, which makes sense. It totally makes sense. In college, I was taking all of these art classes. I was taking figure drawing, painting, ceramics, like all the things. And so you're taking class with other creative makers, artists, people, and you're constantly having these conversations, these creative conversations. But you graduate and then everyone kind of goes their separate ways. And I feel like I'm still connected through social media with a handful of people that I went to school with. But it's not quite the same as being in close proximity to them frequently, multiple times during the week, and like sharing and talking about like what you're making and what's been hard and like having those conversations. So I think for me, that is one reason that I really love these podcasts, is I'm getting to hear the voices of artists and illustrators and makers that they're sharing their experience. And so I think that's why I like them so much, especially when I am feeling stuck or unsure or not very confident in what I'm doing or making. And so I think that's one reason that I really love podcasts, and because I get to hear these people's experience, and it's not a conversation that I get to have in my normal day-to-day life just because of like the point in life that I'm at. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really means a lot. It helps other people find the video, and then I get to share these things with even more people, which I don't know very much, but it's always fun to share what you do know. So give it a like, drop a comment down below, click subscribe if you want to see more of what I'm up to. But thanks for watching, and thanks for being here.